For the third time this season, the Raiders blew a 17-0 lead and lost. The Raiders lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in their 8th game, 27-20, just narrowly losing. And this game was no different than many other games this season, where the Raiders played very well in the first half and went quiet in the second half and lost, losing by just one score once again. And so the Raiders dropped to 2-6 on the season. They have yet to win a road game, while Jacksonville, this was a must-win for both teams, really, to just kind of salvage their seasons. Jacksonville moves to 3-6, so similar record. And, the Raiders, I don't even know what happened here. This was an absolute collapse. And, man, if you were to ask me if I'm mad about this, of course I'm mad about it, but at this point, season's over, right? There's nothing we can do about it. And so, yeah, 2-6 record, through about halfway through. So, the first half, like I mentioned, it was great. Davante Adams was making a huge impact. He was firing on all cylinders. It looked like Carr was looking to him on every opportunity he could, and that's what we want, right? We want Derek Carr to target Davante Adams when he's open, and that's what he was doing. The first touchdown came pretty early in this game. Davante Adams, 25-yard touchdown pass from Carr. The Raiders did have 3-and-out on their first drive, and that looked bad, but they were looking good, as the drives continued. In the second quarter, they took a 10-point lead as they got a 38-yard field goal from Carlson. And then they went up 17-0. Like I said, amazing play. It was a very good drive, 3-play drive, 69 yards. Davante Adams, 38-yard pass from Carr. He was wide open. There were no Jags defenders within, many yard radius. And so, yeah, that makes it 17-0. The downfall would start from here. They allow a touchdown from Travis Etienne Jr., a 1-yard run. Etienne had a great game. Got to give him credit. He was arguably player of the game besides Davante. But the Raiders did get a field goal to push their lead back up to 13 before halftime. And, eventually they would, of course, give the ball back to the Jags before halftime, too. So it was 20-10 at halftime. Then in the third quarter, Jacksonville gets the ball first. Christian Kirk gets a 7-yard touchdown pass from Trevor Lawrence, and that makes it 20-17. And I'm like, oh shoot, this is happening. Just like it was in the Chiefs game, just like it was in the Cardinals game way back, the Raiders are blowing it. And I was right. Travis Etienne gets a 5-yard touchdown to open the fourth quarter, 20-24, and then Riley Patterson basically seals the game with a field goal, so it's 27-20. So that's the final score. The Raiders lose once again. And, I thought this part of our schedule was going to be games that we were going to win pretty easily, games that could help us salvage our season from the poor start. We had the Saints last week that I thought we were going to win, and we were embarrassed. Then we, of course, lose to the Jaguars. We got the Colts next week, who have, a very young quarterback with inexperience, and we should be able to win that. But like I said, with the Raiders, it's unpredictable. It's however they're going to play that weekend is, if they're going to win. And I know that kind of goes for any team, but with the Raiders, it is just so arbitrary. Derek Carr, did he play okay? He played better than last game, but, you're not winning. The quarterback's ultimately at fault at the end of the day. I don't care, what Carr did in this game. He had 259 yards passing, not bad, but where was he in the second half? The Raiders had 3-and-outs and punts and, just sloppy plays. Josh Jacobs really didn't have much of an impact either. 67 yards, 17 carries. Okay, right? Etienne played a lot better for Jacksonville running-wise. Davante was great. Other Raiders receivers didn't really step up. And I think it's really, I'm just going to be very out front here. I think it's really a shame that Hunter Renfrow is not the player he was last year. Hunter Renfrow last year was a Pro Bowler. Year before that, he was really on the brink of making that Pro Bowl push. What has he done this year? Nothing. I know he's been hurt sometimes, but he only had 3 receptions and 26 yards. And yeah, a lot of it's Derek Carr's fault. He's not targeting Renfrow, but Renfrow is not the reliable receiver anymore. He's just kind of this slot receiver we hardly look at. It's more Mac Hollins that's getting more looks than him in general. And Davante is, of course, the number one guy. But I feel like adding Davante was a blessing and a curse, right? It was a blessing because it's Davante Adams, and we're going to get a lot of touchdowns from him. We're going to get a lot of good receptions. But it was also a curse because he sort of overpowers the receiving core, and it doesn't really allow, Renfro to get touches as much. And also, Waller didn't play for like the 4th straight week or whatever. And, Waller, even prior to his injury, it was a similar story to Renfro. It's like, what is he really doing, right? He just signed a big contract with us, and Carr's really only throwing to Devontae. And I mean, it works sometimes, but like I said, we're not winning. The Raiders just blew it, scoring no points in the second half, and Jacksonville embarrassed them. I mean, Jacksonville, with all due respect to the team, is sort of a joke, right? Like, as a team, and we should be winning against them in general. But man, the Raiders are they're horrible. They're terrible, and moved to 2-6. So, yeah, what can I say? Season's pretty much over, even though we still have a majority of the games left, still 9 games left. But man, it's hard to be a fan. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys later. And yeah, go Raiders.